It is stumps then on day 4, and Shaun Marsh and Travis Head ensure that there is a little bit of curiosity going into the final day. India would take that though, 3 wickets in the final session of play, which means that all they need is 6 wickets to take a 1-0 lead in this series on the final day. They resume day 4 at 151 for 3. They managed to double up and more to take it to 307, courtesy Cheteshwar Pujara's 20th Test match 50. And in response, they'd be a little angry at how easily those 4 wickets fell. Mohammad Shami and Aron Finch picking up 2 apiece, and Shaun Marsh and Travis Head keeping India at bay. Australia 219 behind. That's not as big a number as you might think if you're an Australian fan going into the final day. VVS Lakshman, Ajit Agarkar and Brad Hodge first on ESPN Cricket for Matchday. Hodge, have you rushed to your hotel because you couldn't stand how softly those Australian wickets were falling in that final session?
I said, well, yeah, it was frustrating as an Australian to see that, if you can just grind it out and just put some value on your wicket, which unfortunately, we made some simple mistakes. And, you can see if we're only 1 or 2 down at the close of play and you still got 219 runs to chase, there'd be a good hope for Australia. But 4 down, it's not where you want to be.
Even as a bowler, Ajit, there are some wickets that you earn as the bowler and some wickets the batsman helps you out a little. Looking at Usman Khawaja and Aron Finch, most certainly.
Yeah, maybe they felt the pressure again.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, because for some reason, at least in my opinion, I felt that looking at today, batting felt a little bit easier than what it's looked in the first innings. It didn't seem to maybe zip through as much of the pitch if it was for the seamers or even Ashwin. The left-handers in particular looked quite comfortable against him. So Khawaja obviously played 40 odd balls for 8 and felt the pressure of wanting to start moving his own score along, but didn't need to. I mean, that's exactly what Pujara did. Just batted time, and once the bowlers were tired, he did get some freebies. So yeah, disappointing because Australia going two down tonight. I know it's ifs and buts, but it would have been an interesting day tomorrow. I think India would have felt the pressure. I think at the moment India will be comfortable with where they are.
VVS, you're an accomplished Test batsman. You know what it's like to bat Test cricket. You have Marcus Harris, Usman Khawaja and Peter Handscomb all get out to aggressive shot making when neither the situation demanded it.
Yeah, you can play the shots,
Yeah.
because even if you're chasing a big target, you have to play your natural game. You can't go into a shell because especially when there is more than a day for you to save the Test match, you can't go into a shell very easily. And if you're in the Australian camp, you start the innings, you feel that we are capable enough to chase this target down because the wicket is good.
Yeah.
But what shots you play is very important. So, but when we see Usman Khawaja's shot or even Harry's shot, they're low percentage shot. Khawaja against a turn trying to hit over long on mid-wicket region, which is not a high percentage shot. Harris cutting something which was so close to him, there was no room on offer, it was not even a short pitch delivery. So that's a low percentage shot. You have to play your natural game, but also you have to know to play low risk, high reward shots.
And I don't know if Justin Langer would have felt the same frustration as you, Haji, accomplished Test batsman that he is. But what's this? It's one thing to say Marcus Harris on debut has played a rash shot. Usman Khawaja has batted like he's in no rush to save a game. He knows what it's like. Why did you feel that he had this sense of urgency about him before he eventually fell to Ashwin?
Look, I think it may have just been a build-up of pressure in Usman's mind. I think, maybe he may have assessed what he did in the first innings, and he chewed up a lot of balls in the first innings, and maybe he thought long and hard about it overnight that he wants to play a more aggressive approach. But for Usman, I don't think being aggressive towards the spinners, where he hasn't had great success over the past, would have been the way to go. I would have thought if he wanted to push in attacking mode, it would have been against the quicks. But look, they're an inexperienced side. Usman not so much, but Marcus Harris just more about choice actually. Just not even execution, was just the building up of pressure of the Indian bowlers, who have bowled particularly well actually. I mean the execution of just not allowing the Australian batsmen to hit boundaries or rotate the strike it's just built up too much pressure and they succumb to it.
You'd give the Indian bowlers a fair amount of credit too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the pitch is a bit difficult to score freely on it. I think every batsman that we've seen even score runs, maybe Rahane was the only exception who hit a few boundaries early in his innings, but otherwise everyone's had to work hard.
Rishabh
for their
Pant might
runs.
be another exception.
Yeah, but
He doesn't have
Rishabh
to
Pant
work
was
at all.
well, I mean, he lasted
He
16
doesn't-
balls.
yeah, he
wasn't
doesn't
it?
count
So,
in this.
yeah, so it is a slowish pitch where then but you still have to work hard as a bowler. They kept their disciplines. They were patient enough, made scoring harder. There is not enough pace to work for the batsman, even if the ball's a little bit shorter. The Indian bowlers have been good in both innings. They knew if you create enough pressure. We keep saying this Australian batting lineup does give you an opportunity or make mistakes, and there were 4 of them today.
Yeah, the bowlers that were reaping the rewards of those mistakes were Mohammad Shami and R. Ashwin. So Shami finally showing up. He did pick up the last couple of wickets in the first innings, but he does Ajit Agarkar's fab 4 points no harm. And we know that in the second innings, at times Mohammad Shami gets into these zones, and you knew it. That's why you picked him.
Yeah, not second inning. I think he gets into these spells
Yeah.
where it just seems to hurry any batsman in the world on even the slowest
There
of
are
pitches.
actually numbers that suggest second innings. So it's an average of just under 25 in the second innings in tests, and that scoots up to 33 in the first.
Nah, I mean, obviously there's a stark difference in the averages. I'm just saying in terms of bowling or his ability to suddenly have wickets in spells or 2 or 3 wickets in spells. He's done it quite often in Test cricket. Even today, I mean, most batsmen were hurried every time he bowled and just ambles in almost and is consistently good 140s, between 140 145 consistently. So no, and doesn't give you much room. Bowls quite straight. No, I think that's the ability that he has. Bowls a lot of wicket-taking balls. Consistently in Test cricket.
He's an enigma, VVS, because sometimes he doesn't look like a bowler who's going to take a wicket at all. Sometimes he's a bowler who looks like he'll take a wicket every ball.
Yeah, it's all boils down to discipline. Because there have been times, he's very skillful. One of the most talented bowlers you will come across, upright, wrist position, majority of the times the ball lands on the seam. But it's about discipline. It's about not being wayward. And I think when it does get the ball to reverse swing, which happens more often when he bowls in the second innings, because invariably the wicket gets worn out. The ball will get worn out very quickly as well, and so he's a great exponent of reverse swing because, as Ajit mentioned, he bowls very straight. So in the second innings, he gets more LBW, more clean bowls compared to the first innings. But it boils down to the mental discipline. And what we saw, the difference between the first innings, second innings, even though the ball didn't swing at all in this test match for Shami, in the second innings, it was more straight. In the first innings, if at all, he gave away some width to the batsman because of which the batsmen were able to score. But it boils down to his mental discipline, and he's a wicket-taking bowler. And he's someone who can also bowl long spells, which is very, very important if you are putting pressure on the batsman.
Discipline is something Marcus Harris might need to look at. Haji, now 2 very good-looking 26s on debut for Marcus Harris, batted about 50 balls in either innings, and then just that kind of shot. What would you want to tell Marcus Harris after his first test? Because there seems to be a fair bit of promise, and then he just finds a way to get out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think that it's probably just a simple case of where, he just lacked a little bit of concentration and knowing what's needed or required at the Test match level. That that single-minded concentration needs to extend for 5 to 6 hours, like Pujara did. So that's probably something which he can tighten up in. He was probably just a young kid playing his first Test match, looks up on the scoreboard and thinks 25, 26 is okay. Just starting to feel comfortable, but the relentless pressure of such a good Indian attack doesn't allow you to relax for 1 minute, and he'll probably just reflect on that. And, it was a pretty expansive shot. There was a loose outside the off stump, but Mohammad Shami, I think, really dragged him into that dismissal, but quality bowling.
Now, let's speak a little bit about Shaun Marsh too. There are enough Australian batsmen that have, you could say, a point to prove. I know there are a lot of Australian journalists who are after Shaun Marsh's recent record and why he still keeps a place in this team. Nice little start to his innings. We know he played top innings for Western Australia at the Adelaide Oval recently, and he can bat. He can bat long. He's good against the off-spin. This an important innings for Shaun Marsh, and he's the key going into the final day for Australia.
Well, it's a massively important innings. I mean, there was a stat I think that got brought up that he's the last batsman since, I think it was 1908, that has scored the most dismissals below 10 consecutively in Test match cricket. So, I guess his scrutiny is on his position. But all in all, I think he looked tremendously comfortable today. I thought he played Ashwin well. I thought he played the Cricks well. So, he's one of them guys that if he can just find his way past 10, then he'll go on and score freely and score well. But he definitely needs to finish this Test match off well. If not, try and take Australia to a victory.
And you saw that those numbers there. He averages 81 against off spin in Australia, VVS. So if Ashwin is the key on the final day, they've got their best batsman arguably against that off spin to handle it. And unlike Khwaja, he never really looked unsettled or scratchy. Once he got through those first few balls, he seemed quite comfortable.
I think he's the best player of spin bowling as far as this Australian batting lineup is concerned. When Steve Smith comes in, he's much better.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the best in world cricket. But he's got the technique, and the good thing is he trusts his defence. And when he plays with soft hand. He's got the ability to also rotate the strike, uses his feet. So he's got all the ingredients to play spin bowling well. Whereas the reputation Usman Khwaja has is a good player of fast bowling, but not against spin. And this is something which I discussed with a lot of the Australian greats, and they felt that he's excellent timer of the cricket ball, and he gets into good position when he plays against the fast bowlers. Against spin, he doesn't have the ability to rotate the strike, and that is so important. And one of the reasons why he was forced to play that loose shot of Ashwin, because he was not able to rotate the strike and he was stuck. So I think Shaun Marsh is fantastic, and I agree totally with Brad, because I've played against Shaun Marsh. I've seen and followed his career. He's a very, very shaky, tentative starter, very nervous, but once he gets his eye in, he's one of the most talented batsmen you can see. And when your situation or your position in the team is on the line, this is a perfect opportunity for him to go out there and do something special for his country.
If Ashwin is to be the man to dislodge the rest of this Australian batting, there is a challenge before him too. He anyway has his own point to prove about performances outside the subcontinent. In Test this year, the average shoots up. Unlike Mohammad Shami, he's the complete opposite. Very good first innings average of just under 20. In the second innings, he tends to taper off. Strike rate of nearly 79 and an average of over 33. Not sure how that explains our Ashwin, Ajit.
Yeah, not sure actually. I mean, obviously there's some test away from India in England and South Africa. Strange one really. You would expect him to bowl better in the second innings.
As the pitch tempo wears off and whatnot.
Can't explain it. I'm trying to think on the top of
we're
my
thinking
head.
We're thinking of Southampton. There's one test where he bowled a lot without much success.
And that pitch did help as well.
Yes.
I think he was carrying a little bit of a niggle in that second innings, which didn't help his cause. But you would expect him to bowl better in the second innings. Hopefully tomorrow is the day where he proves it.
Okay, we've got some fan questions too that coming in, and I'm glad that you spent your Saturday following this Test match. It does look like the odds are heavily stacked in favour of India. David Gala, is Ashwin guilty of trying too many variations? Should he have followed what Lyon did? Did we notice too many variations?
Yeah, there was more carom ball, more slider today. Also, I think it's because when Lyon bowled, he bowled to a lot of right-handers, and there was a rough spot. All Nathan Lyon had to do was pitch the ball, which by default is his length, on that rough. Whereas Ashwin had to try something different, so he bowled over the wicket, he bowled round the wicket, and he had to try various variations. When the wicket is not helping you, then you have to use all the variations you have. Otherwise you can't be predictable at this level. So that's the reason why Ashwin probably used more variations as the partnership was building between Shaun Marsh and the other Australian.
I mean, the left-handers did look a lot comfortable against him. I mean, even though Khwaja scratched around or wanted to score, it never looked like when he defended he was in trouble.